Yes, hello and welcome everyone to this webinar, No Code and AI Testing. Will coding be obsolete in the near future of testing? My name is Magnus. I've been working with system verification for 13 years now, and I've been within the software engineering or software development industry for more than 25 years, almost 30 years now. So I've seen quite many things coming and go, and there has been different hypes. As I said, I'm working for system verification. We are located mainly in Sweden, but also Germany, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and Poland. And we are Sweden's largest software quality assurance company. So everything from working with requirements to the user acceptance testing and everything in between there that can improve the software quality is what we're working with. Myself, I've been working with most of the different tasks that you can see, but from my point of view, what is interesting is also to start to look at the future, what is upcoming. Sometimes you see that test is kind of old school and nothing happens, but there are quite some few things going on now. And as we say, that's why we're here today to listen to the AI testing and the no-code testing. According to Gartner's latest reports, this is something that is going to be the future of many different things. And as we can read also in the newspapers and in many other papers, is about the chat GPT that will more or less be a paradigm shift now. So that's why I'm very happy to present Björn Martens, who's a quality assurance specialist for no-code testing, and has been working with this for many years. Also, he's a specialist in the Tricentis environment, which is the leader in no-code testing. So he has been working in a number of different projects for the last couple of years and different things like requirement and different roles as that. So that's why I'm very happy to see him today and allow him to elaborate a little bit more on the no-code and AI testing. But before I do so, I also would like to highlight that we have a chat that will be used. I know that Bjorn will provide you with some questions and that you can answer in the chat. But if you do have specific questions, please provide them in the Q&A section. And if you would like to learn more about system verification, you can always click the More About Us button at the lower end. So hope you will enjoy this, and by that I hand it over to you, Björn.
Thanks a lot, Magnus. And hello and a warm welcome from my side. Yes, as Magnus said, I'm a software consultant, especially for QA and no-code testing. As you can see, will coding be obsolete in the near future of testing? I know that's a really heretical question. And AI and no-code testing comes up in many parts of our life nowadays, and I think in the future, and take more and more place in, yes, of course, different parts of our life. And today we will have a spot on testing and what AI testing especially can do for us, and how to compare it to coding, the old school way of testing. Yeah, so let's step in.
Sorry, Björn, you muted yourself.
Great. I don't know. And how? So, step back. Yeah, we have different approaches. Code-based testing, no-code testing, and new and came up, the AI testing. At first, I want to talk to you and ask you in a poll, which kind of role have you in your project, in your in your team, in your company, so that I can see, or we can see, what kind of audience we have today. Oh, great, thanks a lot. Votes came up. And I hope you find your own role in this, not that specific parts, because it's unable to go to every definition, to every role, to every. So I try to sum up a bit, and yeah, great. Coding tester, manual tester are top something else. Developer, coding tester. Perfect. Thanks a lot for this. Then let's at first, let's talk about basic setup. Some definitions and my understanding of teams, because as I mentioned, I have to come to a little one. Not all of your roles, not all the roles on the market in teams am I able to cover in this presentation, not in 40 or 45 minutes. And let's come to limitations of actual or upcoming approaches. After that, let's talk about issues that we have as a tester: communication, code versus no code, and collaboration. What kind of problems and issues do we have in our projects, or do we have if we talk to each other? And at least future setup, possible framework, and you see the 3 points. Let's discuss and talk about it. And I will try to give you short prompts for the upcoming days and weeks for your setup. And please don't stick too much on common definitions. I can't serve for every definition. And last but not least, Q&A session. The basic setup. We have a short view on the test pyramid, only for limitations or delimitation. And let's talk about a bit about competences and my understanding of teams that will be part of this webinar in the upcoming minutes. Test pyramid. I know each of you know this type of pyramid. I will use it only for once. Today, I won't talk about unit test, component tests, dev tests, because coding tests, you're a specialist for them. I will talk about system integration tests, regression test, UAT, end-to-end testing, really important for many, many companies. So that's delimit our view for today's webinar. And the competence. On the left side, we've got development, testing, and business as competence. And on the top, we've got developer, testers, business analyst, and business. The same roles you see in the poll. So please feel free to take with you some insights, some views, something for you that you can take with you. Developer. Really, really great in development and a bit of testing. They know about testing, especially in unit component tests. You can talk about. Tester. You can talk a bit about development, and they have great testing skills at all. But both of them maybe are not that experienced in the business processes. Hand over to the business analyst. Great in business processes and good in testing. And you can talk about it. You can talk about testing. You can talk about test objects. You can talk about anything you want to test or you need for your things. And the business side. Great business. Maybe not with testing and of sure novel development. And here is a border. On the left side, we have got all in our information technology sides. On the right side is a business side. And we have to find a collaboration point, in my opinion, where we can collaborate and communicate. Then this is the most working point in each project I was with in the last couple of years. And we have to collaborate, as I said. Understanding of teams. Competences, development. I said it in the previous slide. Great knowledge of technical processes, and of course, coding skills. The dev testing lifecycle is something that you as a coder, as a developer, has in your heart, in your brain, everywhere. But maybe less knowledge of business processes. But it's okay. That's not your job. As a tester, you have got knowledge, not great knowledge, but not knowledge of technical processes. You are able to code, and you have great testing skills. That is your passion. Business analyst. Not at all knowledge of technical processes. You have maybe no coding skills, less testing skills, you know how to do that, and so on. Maybe business analyst can be a test analyst too, from business side, but more of that later on. And you have a great knowledge of requirements and a knowledge of the business processes. When it comes to the business, you have got great knowledge of business processes and great knowledge of your requirements, because it will be your software or your update. And it comes in many projects to such a, so to say, hierarchy. Not hierarchy at all, but let's have a look at, from business side to requirements to the business analysts, is a process where the information flows. And at the end, you have got the test automation engineers who have got questions to the business analyst, don't understand what the requirement means, what it especially means to you as a test automation engineer or as a tester, and you have got a bottleneck. And I know the ratio of 3-1 or 3-4 is a bit too high maybe, but let's take them with us, that we have got a bottleneck in business, in the gap between business analyst and test automation engineer, and we need to collaborate, to communicate. And how often have we got, as a tester, have we got questions? What do you mean? How is the process? Let's look and figure out how we can come up with these issues. And that's our next topic. Communication. When to communicate, how to communicate. We will have a look on code versus no code, that you have an insight, maybe a first look and feel how it could be with no code or low code testing. Then we will talk about collaboration and, of course, limitation. Each approach has limitations, and we have to talk about it. Communication. When to communicate. And that the second time, you have to do something. Please write in the chat, in projects, when do you have to communicate as a tester with somebody else? Maybe it's development, maybe the business side. When do you have, or in which situation do you have communication phases? Please write in chat. Always, pretty much all the time. I see some. Understanding requirements, of course. definition specs, of course. Usually when something needs clarified, pretty much always, yeah, right, you got it. We have to communicate all the time because we are a tester. We are not the developer. We are not the business side. We have to understand what to test, how to test, and how the processes are. And in one of my former projects, I was at a bank. If you can imagine, a bank has really, when it comes to short trades, trading, you have so many possibilities to do things and to collaborate with other tools that you can't know anything about it. And here some examples. Business process, of course, test data every time, a big part of our daily doing. User acceptance testing, issues, features maybe, test issues, analyzing. Why does my test goes wrong? False positive, false negative, of course, and what to test. And that is a small part of our communication line. Test in the middle, development on the left side, business on the right side. And we have to have a fluent communication. But it's not that easy, isn't it? On the left side, we talk about the developer, about our code. We have one source, we can read both. No problem. The developer can read it, nothing happens. And then we try to talk to the business side to clarify what happens here and what am I doing during my tests. And maybe you can imagine it's not that easy because the business side, and they don't have to know that they can't read code, of course. So let's step the first time into code versus no code. On the left side, as you have seen, is a code. Many of you know, I think. And on the right side, we have got a no-code solution. Maybe you can mention, if you has heard my introduction, which tool it could be. Yeah, we have got on the right side a business readable structure. Click, do, fill in, input. It's very easy to talk with the business side about my test cases and on which situation the test case does something or does not. So please, let's talk about business readable. We have got the possibility to talk about business readable processes, technical processes with a translation. And that's the first step we can collaborate. From my point of view, I've worked in many projects, and each time I was able to show the business side my problem, it was clear, it was fast. We were able to talk about it, to find solutions. Maybe it's easy. Sometimes it's easy. They say, oh, no, don't call newsroom, sorry, but yeah, you have to fill in. It's another name. If you have written code, they won't find the issue or the problem. But, of course, with limitations. And of course, we start with coding. I pick something and I try to explain it a bit. If I have a coded test framework, code is tested by code. Maybe and a bit hard to get into it is if you try to test code with written code, maybe you're stick to re-engineer the code that you have to test. Maybe sometimes. And you can't break up it, and maybe sometimes you have to find workarounds for it. And the point I mentioned before, it's unreadable for the business side. And but that depends on your coding or on your testing structure, on your test framework structure. You have maybe different solutions for the same problem, because tester one has got a, so to say, handwriting of code different to his colleague. And so you have different solutions. Yes, of course, you can come over with for example, classes or structured testing or libraries. But I think you know which problem I mean. No-code test framework. As you can see, one point more. If you have got a no-code test framework, you are stick to the understanding of objects and artifacts of your no-code test framework. You can't step in. If the no-code test framework doesn't understand it right, what you see or what you try to test, it's hard to maintain or to get another way, because it's image-based. And if the recognition isn't good enough of the no-code test framework, you get in trouble. And you have got limited possibilities to think outside the box. That means if your no-code test framework did not recognize the point you want to test, or they understand the system under test, or the app under test wrong, you get in trouble. And of course, you have no easy maintenance for major changes. For minor changes, it's very easy, often with a rescan or something like this. But if you have major changes, maybe you have to restructure your test framework, because the understanding changed during the major change. And last but not least, AI, the first time. AI understands what AI wants to understand. Yes, of course, it's a learning. And of course, the things behind the AI are really good and really powerful at all. But it's a learning process. We can't go in with the meaning that AI is able to do all the things, all the stuff by now. I don't know how it will be in the upcoming months, years, days, regarding ChatGPT and so on. They're really fast at the moment, but the main problem is AI understands what AI wants to understand. And maybe you have got different interpretation of objects each time. For example, if you have a table which changed often by user, by table creation, by content, it might be that your AI interpret it different each time. And that's a problem, because it's not reliable what you have written or what you test, because maybe it's false positive all the time. And as I mentioned, learning means maybe learning wrong. At the current state, for example, ChatGPT, if you write often that 1 + 1 is 3, sometimes, or in the near future, the AI will get this solution and say, yeah, of course, 1 + 1 is 3. So that's a bit problematical if we use only an AI test framework. So far from my side, to clarify, to give a bit of introduction and a bit of look and feel how the current situation is. And now let's talk about a future setup and how it might be. No-code and AI-based testing are the rising stars and will be more and more in place in the upcoming months and years. This quote came from me. Let's start and step into the topic you are here. But first of all, let's sum up a bit the last 20 minutes. we've got no code. We've got code. No collaboration possible through all, and it's hard to maintain regarding libraries, classes, same handwriting, and so on. No code. We are reliant on interpretation. It's hard to maintain for major changes and hard to think outside the box. But that is, we tested. We think outside the box. We have to think outside the box if we try to test it right. If we only test it straight through all the time, so it's easy for us. We have to think outside the box. We have to test. We have to prove the software or the updates that are on our table. But no code, we have the possibility for a good collaboration. And last but not least, AI. Of course, reliant to interpretation. The interpretation gets better and better and better and better, but we are relying on it. But it's easy to maintain because they know how they understand things. And let's see how we can maybe combine it. But at first, my wish list as a tester for a test framework. I start with easy maintenance. And now it's your time. What's on your wish list for an easy test framework for you? I see Bogdan with Cucumber, SpecFlow, BDD approach is quite, yes, you're right. Easy to learn, easy to adapt, easy to use. Thanks, John. Something else. What do you wish for a test from a test framework? Oh, well documented, yeah. Cross-platform, reusable, yes, of course. You don't want to have one tool for each platform or application you have. Easy to write new test cases, of course, yes. And it should be stable, yeah, for a tester, it should. Easy to run, quick to run, of course. Some more suggestions? Otherwise, I will point out my reliable and stable. Yeah, of course, Michael. Coding is possible. I will come in a few seconds back to this topic from my point of view. I like to collaborate. It should be possible. As I mentioned before, I have to talk all the time and talk about what I have done, what my expectations are, and what the expectations of my colleagues, project members, and so on are. Yeah, cross-platform, we already heard it. And, as we heard, easy test case definitions. Yes, of course, it would be great. So, maybe you remember the first slide where AI testing, coding, and no-code testing was presented. In my opinion, and I will give you thought into it, is no-code testing the middle, or could be the middle, and I will show you why. And let's talk about low-code testing, because no-code means we are not able to code anymore. That means a possible framework for us could be on left side coding, no code in the middle, and AI on the right side. And as I mentioned, let's switch from no code to low code, and AI on the right side. And let's see how they can maybe interact with each other. If we use in the middle of everywhere, a low-code solution, we are able to collaborate. Collaboration is possible. We can talk about it. We can ask questions. We can show what we have done. We can show what we have not, what we haven't done. And in my opinion, coding should be possible. If we have got a no-code solution with no code at all, we have got the problem that we are very limited in our interpretations. And of course, cross-platform should be possible. And regarding to AI, maybe AI can help us with easy test case definitions and easy maintenance. So let's step a bit deeper. If we have got the possibility to code within our low-code solution, we have the possibility to create modules or structures that are not delivered or not recognized by the application itself. So we can come over problems that are caused by no code. Example, giving us on the wrong understanding of the no-code solution, for example, we can code something that make it happen, that my system under test and my testing solution understand what I would like to test and how they should talk to each other. And we have the possibility to understand different platforms. We can add platforms, we can add different languages, we can add different solutions, we can add upcoming solutions maybe. For example, ARIA. Maybe you have heard of that. It's a technique for limited persons, for example, that can't hear correct or can't see correct, and so on, that they have easier access to all in the World Wide Web. On the AI side, we have got the possibility of model-based test case creation by AI. How cool is that? If we are able to build a model with, for example, business analysts or the business side, we can give this model to AI, and it's possible to create test cases for us. Great. And last but not least, self-healing. The solution I talked about, and I'm familiar with, you maybe know which is able, or other way around, if something changed in the system on the test, the solution stepped into it and asked me after execution, hey, sorry, but maybe the object that you are searching for isn't there anymore, but maybe is this one with this different properties? Oh, yes, it is. Thanks a lot. Confirm. And everything has changed. And no code transformation in the middle on low code. We already talked about it, but let's dig a bit deeper into it. I think you remember this picture. And here we have got the possibility to talk in one low-code solution with the development on properties, on recognitions, on structure, on everything that might help us from the technical side. For example, there came up an update in a former project, and nothing was recognized. I stepped 2 floors down and asked the developer, guys, maybe did you miss something? No, we didn't do. Maybe the IDs? Oh, sorry, we forgot. Maybe can you test again, please? Of course. So that is able for me because I see the properties and I can talk with the development about developer stuff. And I'm able to talk to the business. If the process is wrong, if my understanding of the process is wrong, I am able to talk to them and ask, hey, sorry, but can you have a look on it or on the test data? maybe I got it wrong. Yes, you got it wrong here, here, and here. Please do this route. Oh, it works. Thanks a lot for this. For those, the pictures was too small. Let's step into it. That's the technical view. On the left side, you've got the structure of the application or here of the website. You can see divs, you can see different things. And here I have highlighted the input field, your email. And on the right side, you have got the first level of properties which are provided from this element. And you can talk about it. And you can see, oh, the ID. Maybe it could be a jumping ID from refresh to refresh. Let's talk about it. How can I avoid it? How can I work with it? And this point, please keep in mind, I will come back to it later. And on the other side, that is the same object in a different view. Here you can see your email, like here. So I've got one single source of truth. I don't have to translate. I can talk with both sides. I can find solutions. I can find maybe solutions for me or for the business side or for the technical side. And maybe you remember the understanding of teams. In this context, if you as a tester have got the possibility to write your test on a low-code base, you are very close to the business analyst and very close to the requirements, because the collaboration is really, really fast. And most of them, you can avoid translations, for example. So my understanding of upcoming teams in the future could be this: that you have business analysts that now they are able to test or to write test automations by themselves. And you have test automation engineers one line above, because they don't have to talk to the business analyst all the time, or they have to translate. They are able to understand, or they should be able to understand, what the business needs are, because they are really, really faster to talk and to increase their knowledge of business processes. And if you can see, each business analyst or each person who is not able to code need a test automation engineer as a backup. If something went wrong with a no-code, low-code solution and you need a workaround, you have to have a backup, a technical backup in your back to solve these problems. But as you can see here, there are not so many persons only for test automation engineer, only for coding. So let's come to a conclusion before we start the Q&A session. We sum up that each testing tool approach has limitations. Yes, of course they have. But please keep in mind, evaluate it for your project, your team, your tech stack. Because maybe some limitations don't stick to you or to your project or to your team. Other are maybe blocker for you. And we figured out that a combination of approaches enables us to streamline and improve your QA processes, because we have more collaboration, we have less translation, we have more on one table. We can sit together and talk about things with one solution in the middle. And please use in the upcoming future, in my opinion, coding as a helper. Of course, sometimes we have to code things, but in my opinion, we don't have to code all. And use AI as a helper as long as My coffee machine doesn't make coffee in the morning by their own because of AI. It's a helper, and it's really, really helpful. Example given, self-healing and test case creation. It is really, really helpful to understand and to streamline things, but it's not a replacement for our brain. And referred to our today's main topic, will coding be obsolete in the near future of testing? Maybe, you can guess. No, but please, test automation engineer shouldn't have the limited focus on coding only. As you have seen in the previous slides, you have to figure out what tests really are, and not only coding and testing. You have to understand the processes, because especially in end-to-end testing, there's so many processes you have to understand, and you have to help with your testing skills to the business or the business analyst to figure out and figure fast out what the best test solution is. And with solution, I mean which test cases, which approach, which kind of testing is the best up to regression or user acceptance testing. And whether they should actively include in the test case creation lifecycle. That is what I meant. Coding, only write code, and that's important. Only write code won't be such important in the upcoming future. So please, be smart, open your mind, and start to collaborate, because it streamlines our QA processes a lot. And that was the main part of my presentation. Please don't forget the Q&A section, as long as I give you small insights about me. Who is the guy talking to me? Yes, of course, Magnus introduced me very well in the beginning, but I talked to him not to go too deep. My name is Björn Martin. Obviously, I'm a consultant in test automation, and obviously, I'm a Tricentis Tosca expert. But things that most person don't know about me is the following. I worked 10 years as an insurance clerk and financial consultant, so I'm a business guy. I came from the business, and often I am able to translate between the development, my colleagues, which are a coding tester, and the business. 30 up to 40% of my daily work is to translate things of colleagues and sit between them, because I'm not able to write any lines of code. It's not correct at all, because in the meantime, I'm able to read, manipulate, and maybe write small processes and application, but it's nothing in comparison with my colleagues, which are really great coder. And last but not least, I came from the business to the business analyst, up to the test analyst, and nowadays I'm a test automation engineer without writing code. Maybe good to know for persons who start and are really interesting in test automation. Thanks. And now we can start the Q&A session, and I hand over to Magnus.
Yes, thank you very much, Björn. Very appreciated. We have received one of the first questions here, and it's about, as a manual tester, where would you suggest I look for more resources on NoCode and AI testing?
As a manual tester, it's quite hard, because if you go on the web pages of possible solutions, most of the time they talk in the marketing speech. So it's hard to figure out, is it something for me that I can work with? In my opinion, maybe you have got a colleague who's able to get into it and can show you how they work with it, or try to, maybe you can go to Gartner. Gartner have got an overview of testing solutions. Go into it, search for something that you can go familiar with, and then go to forums, ask questions, and maybe you can get a free of charge version to play around. I hope it helps you. So you listed code tested by code as a limitation of coding. Why? Ultimately, all automation is coded, tested by code. Yeah, as I said, code testing by code is quite well, but you may be on that. But that is from tester to tester different. Maybe you re-engineers the code that you have to test the system under test. As a tester, you should come from another perspective, because if you are code tested by code, the code lines are tested in unit tests or component tests, in the dev tests at all. Above that, your point of view is a collaboration between applications, is a collaboration, or the user experience, or the user-friendly from another point of view. And it's maybe sometimes it's hard to differentiate between your code and that what you have to test. Maybe it could be clearer. Yeah, the next question. What tools are the best for no-code, low-code automated testing? Yeah. Me, as a Tricentis Tosca expert, I think if you go to an end-to-end testing perspective, if you have cross-platforms, if you want to have more possibilities to extend your testing framework, Tosca state of the art. Otherwise, I have to rearrange myself. I will do, and I think I have to do that in the future, but not yet, because most of the other are maybe a bit behind Tosca, or are bought by them in the last couple of months. So yeah. Are there any guidelines or frameworks available to assess and mitigate places such as security risks in AI-generated code? Really good questions. I have no idea. Security testing is something that isn't covered that much by the standard testing solutions regarding AI. And that's really not things I have to talk about, because maybe you have got more experience in security testing than I have. Why should you test end-to-end by using test automation? Oh, I hope it helped you. Why should you test end-to-end by using test automation? Other question, why not? If you've got regression tests and end-to-end testing, and if you have replacement of one application in the complete line, you have to do that. Really, you have to figure out which kind of interfaces are still working, which kind of processes are still working, and, for example, what's with the data through the whole process? Are they changed correctly, for example? So regression testing, end-to-end testing, I would ever use automation for. More questions?
Yes, it's speak now or remain silent forever.
Or later on,
Yeah,
because you've got my contact details.
exactly. You also have this possibility to contact Björn if you're interested in more details and more specific answers on some of the questions.
Of course. Then.
So if nothing else pops up here, yeah, we have one more popping up here. So actually,
Which is that we
sit down.
should avoid verifying system by means of executing test cases. Rather, we should verify systems by means of executing the specifications. Yes. It depends. I know it's the worst answer you can get. It depends. If we test software, we come from a perspective where test cases and processes are really, really helpful for the user. On the other hand, if the specs are working and are they tested, it should be enough. And I think it depends on the project. It depends on the environment that you are working in. And it depends on the team members around you who are responsible for the end of the quality cycle. For example, product owner or the business side, depends on what you're testing in. Yeah. So far, great. Magnus.
Yes, thank you.
Maybe.
So I can just maybe add on that topic as well. I remember once upon a time we were supposed to have the formal logical specifications with Z and those languages. The problem was that no one actually could really understand and use them. So nowadays we have moved the other way around to a more lightweight specification. So yeah, it's a give and take there. With that said, I thank you all very much for listening into this webinar. And as we said, if you would like to get in contact with us, please feel free to do so afterwards. We are here to answer your questions. And yes, here we got Björn's contact information as well. So I'll just show it more to you. And for all of you in Sweden, I hope you very well-deserved midsummer then tomorrow. And all you other guys, I hope you have a good afternoon as you come there and a nice weekend when you come there as well. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.